Yes? I need to enunciate more, right?
Yes.
Okay. So welcome. Thank you guys for coming. I am Jennifer Young, Executive Director of the Hope Center. And this is Monica Kelsey. She's the founder of the Safe Haven Baby Boxes. So how many people have heard of the Safe Haven Baby Boxes? You guys are awesome. Good. So we're speaking to the home crowd today. So this really fits with the Hope Center mission. We want our clients to make the life-affirming decisions. And so in order to make life-affirming decisions, we want to give them options. So Monica's going to explain the baby boxes in great detail. She's going to answer any questions you may have. And so we're here for as long as you have questions. So I'm going to turn it over to her, and she's going to explain how it all works.
Thank you. Can you guys hear good? Because I usually can talk really loud without a mic. So if you guys want me to use the mic, I will, but you'll probably be able to hear me too if I don't have one. So am I good right now?
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, my name is Monica Kelsey. I'm the founder and CEO of Safe Haven Baby Boxes, the only organization in America today that gives 100% anonymity to a woman who wants to surrender her child under the current Safe Haven law. In Indiana, the law's been around for the last 20 years where a woman can walk up to any fire station, hospital, or police station, surrender her newborn, no questions asked. The problem is she has to do that face-to-face. Women are doing that today, which is a great thing, but they're also leaving the babies at the doors of these locations in an unsafe way. So I founded this organization to help with that, but I'll tell you one of the most common questions I get is, with the Safe Haven law, why do we need the box? And I want you guys to understand the difference between the Safe Haven law and the Safe Haven Baby Boxes. It is an extension of the Safe Haven law, but I brought you guys some, and I know everybody hates statistics, I'm not gonna sit here and read statistics. I'm gonna read you actual cases. And you'll hear one of these cases out of Indiana. But I want you to understand and listen to where these babies are being found. January 7th, Birmingham, Alabama, newborn baby girl found alive, wrapped in a towel, laid on the door of a neighbor's home. This home belonged to a police officer. March 8th, Queens, New York, newborn left at the door of a fire station alive. March 10th, Garland, Arkansas, baby found alive in a box outside the front door of a home. This woman was leaving for work and found a baby on her doorstep. June 3rd, Palm Springs, California, newborn baby found deceased in a medical center's public area. The public area was a lunch picnic table. A doctor and a nurse went out to go to lunch and found a dead newborn beside a picnic table on the hospital premises. That's the key, on the hospital premises. July 23rd, Louisville, Kentucky. This isn't far. Newborn found dead inside a laundry basket in a hospital hallway. 15-year-old mother's been charged with murder. Why did she go to the hospital and lay it in a laundry basket? She didn't want to be identified. August 4th, Los Angeles, California, newborn baby boy found outside a church in a stroller with placenta still attached. Why did this woman take this child to a church? Because we trust churches. Women trust churches. August 25th, Atlanta, Georgia, a newborn baby girl found on the front porch of a home wrapped in a blanket, placenta still attached. Baby girl survived. September 1st, Moosic, Pennsylvania. I don't even know where Moosic, Pennsylvania. I didn't even know there was such a name. Moosic, like Moosic, Pennsylvania. Baby found in the bathroom of a church, wrapped in a blanket. Why did this mother go to the church? Because we trust churches. September 24th, North Vernon, Indiana. Some of you guys might remember this. Baby boy, placenta still attached, found outside a church wrapped in a blanket. Baby was estimated to be 6 hours outside as he was sunburnt and had ants crawling all over him. If you stand at that church in North Vernon and you look across the Walmart parking lot, there's a fire station on the other side. Why did she go to the church? We trust churches and they don't judge us, do they? Or they're not supposed to. Guess I better clarify that for some Protestants in the room. Just kidding. You'll notice I'm very blunt. I'm just kidding, though. I'm just kidding. November 3rd, Chicago, Illinois. Baby found wrapped in a blanket outside a hospital ER door. Why did she go to the hospital? November 24th, Queens, New York. You guys are gonna love this one. Baby boy found alive. You can Google this. I'm not giving you anything you can't research. Baby boy found alive inside a church laying in a nativity scene. This kid was laying in the manger. Mother was found and will not be prosecuted for abandonment since the church was a safe location even though she didn't follow the law. That baby could have died. December 24th, Yakima, Washington. It's cold in Washington State in December. A newborn baby girl was found outside a fire station at 6 a.m. One of the firefighters was getting ready for a morning workout, heard a baby cry, found a baby in an apple box. Baby was a few hours old. Last one I'm going to read you. December 25th, Shawnee, Oklahoma. Twin boys were found in the bed of a pickup truck outside a fire station. The mother called 911 from a payphone to remain anonymous, told dispatchers that she left them in the pickup truck and hung up so no one would identify her. What she failed to do is say which fire station she left them at. Babies were found 2 hours later, alive. So do you see what those have in common? These women go all the way to these locations, but they don't want to do the face-to-face interaction that the law requires. So they're leaving them at the doorsteps. These women on the sheet, you can't tell me they don't love their child, because they very much do. They're just in a crisis that most of us will never understand. You know, when I founded this organization, founded it in 2014, I was actually in South Africa on a speaking tour. And before I started working on the baby boxes, I was thrown into a life that I did not know. I always knew that I was adopted, but I didn't know who my biological parents were. The only thing that I was told was that my birth parents were young and loved and couldn't care for me, so they placed me for adoption. I always knew that I wanted to meet this woman, though, because I wanted to wrap my hands around her and tell her how much I loved her, because I knew that she loved me. Carrying me for 9 months and then giving me the best gift ever, which was my parents. I'm blessed. But when I was 37 years old, I was whisked into this world by an act of violence that most of us will never understand. August 25th of 1972, a young 17-year-old girl, she was brutally attacked, she was raped, and she was left along the side of the road to die. This, of course, was when abortion was illegal in our country, even in the cases of rape and incest. She pressed charges against the man who had raped her. He was arrested and he was charged, and if that wasn't the worst of it, 6 weeks later, she finds out she's pregnant. At the advice of her mother, she found herself in a back alley abortion facility in October of 1972, and while standing in front of the man that was going to take her child's life, the 17-year-old girl changed her mind. She left that facility and never looked back. She gave birth in April of 1973 and abandoned her child 2 hours after that child was born. And that child was me. So my biological father is a convicted rapist, and I don't even know my ethnicity. But I'm still a human being, and I still have value. My life isn't worth less than yours simply because of the way I was conceived. And I didn't deserve the death penalty for the crime of my biological father. Most people would look at me today and say, she was conceived and raped and abandoned at birth. You are the poster child for an unwanted person. But I'll tell you what, my adoptive parents had been praying for a daughter. Actually, that's a lie. They were praying for a son and got a daughter. Actually, they adopted all of us girls and never did have a son. So Christ does have a sense of humor with my parents. But you know, every child is wanted by someone. You just have to find that family. And there's families all over this country right now that are praying for babies and to make their lives whole. Every child is wanted by someone. You know, getting to know my biological mother actually gave me the empathy that I need needed to work with women that are in this situation. I have been standing on the front lines of the pro-life movement ever since I met my biological mother. And when I was in South Africa speaking about her story, I happened to be at a church in Cape Town that had what they called a baby safe. And I'm like, what is this and what is it used for? And they said, well, women bring their babies here at night. They place them in this box and then they turn around and walk away. And I'm like, really? This is a thing? And they had saved 7 babies that year. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I come back to the States, hand drew a picture of a baby box on the flight back, walked into a builder in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and said, I want you to build me a baby box. And he looked at me like I was nuts. He's like, oh, what? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to put these in fire stations, I'm going to put these in hospitals, and I'm going to save babies from mothers who don't want their faces seen. And he's still my builder today, but he will tell you that when I walked in, he thought I was absolutely nuts. Because this had never been done in America before. There aren't baby boxes in Kentucky. There ain't baby boxes in Florida. There ain't baby boxes anywhere in America. We are literally, Indiana has paved the way for other states to be able to do this. Since we launched our first 2 boxes in April of 2016, we've had 58 babies come through our program. That is through our hotline, that is through safe surrenders, and that is through our boxes. And we just had our 5th adoption. That's a good day. That is a good day. When I was approached to come to Connersville, my husband is the mayor of our city in Woodburn, Indiana. Anybody know where Woodburn is? No? That's funny. I say that because it's funny because my husband's the mayor. And he would be here like, really? You don't know where Woodburn is? Like, it's like a hole in the wall. We're like, really? We are 15 miles east of Fort Wayne, Indiana. So now you know where the vicinity is. And it is home to Safe Haven Baby Box number 1. It was really easy to talk him into letting me put a baby box at his fire station because he was not coming home that night if he said no. So I installed a baby box at my fire station and installed one at Cold Springs Fire Department, which is up by Michigan City. That was box number 2. Currently we have 9 boxes active in Indiana, 2 in Ohio, and 5 baby drawers in Arizona. 58 babies, and we only have that many devices. You can see the need. I often say that I would rather have a baby box in the community and not need it than need a baby box in the community and not have it. And I'll tell you one story. I love to tell stories, so I hope that doesn't bother anybody, but we've had 6 babies in Indiana this year, 6 in one state. And one of those cases came at 2 o'clock in the morning on February 18th in Columbia City, Indiana. Anybody know where Columbia City is? Oh my gosh, we got one. Okay, well, so Columbia City is another very small community. I don't know, maybe 35,000 people, 25,000, I don't even know how many people they have. We got a call at 2 o'clock in the morning on February 18th of this year from a mother that wanted to surrender her child in one of our baby boxes. The closest box to her was 45 miles away. That is not a good option for us to send her to. So we asked her, could you go to the fire station? We'll call the fire department, let them know that you're coming. She says, no, they're gonna know who I am. Okay, well there's a hospital 5 miles outside of Columbia City on US 30. Everybody knows where US 30 is, right? You guys are looking at me like deer in the headlights. Okay, so it's a major highway in northern Indiana that goes from east to west. So off US 30, 5 miles outside of town is a hospital. And this hospital is a Parkview hospital. We asked her if she could take the child to the hospital. And she said that, no, they're gonna know me there. Again, this is a small community. So at that point, we went into what we call survivor mode, which means we are doing anything possible to save this child's life because we don't know what's gonna happen. This mother's in crisis and wants to dump this child. So there is a Walmart off US 30 in Columbia City, Indiana. And we asked her if she could meet a police officer and a fire truck there. She agreed to it. We normally don't have police officers go because the mom does nothing illegal when she surrenders her child. But in this case, it was a little different, so we wanted to make sure we had police on scene. She literally drove up. We had the fire truck and the police car go up, no lights, no sirens, just quiet. She handed the child out the window to the police officer and drove off. That is courage. It really is. Because that baby could have been found in a dumpster. That baby is now being raised by a family in French Lick. So it was a little girl. She's beautiful, full head of hair. Another case, Woodburn, Indiana, which is my hometown, a city of 2,000 people. We launched in Woodburn simply to have the first box in America there. And I never thought it would be used. Never, ever, 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 ever. I would have told you 2 years ago, that box is not going to be used. We only use that as a home station box. Well, guess what showed up on February 22nd of this year? A 5-pound, 14-ounce little girl. Do you think I know her? Probably. So you never know where these women are at. You never know the crisis that they're in. Getting to know my biological mother literally gave me the empathy that I needed to be able to work with these women. And I spent so much time with my birth mom, getting to know her and just having that relationship with her. I got a call, though, one night on the ambulance that she was ill, she was in the hospital. She was 57 years old and contracted a urinary tract infection that went septic. Close your ears, you've heard this story like 3 times now. I'm just giving him a hard time. So she was in the hospital, 57 years old, contracted a urinary tract infection, and she was on a ventilator. Now, my birth mom had no more kids after me, which is very common with rape victims. And first 3 days, she still had the ventilator in. She could talk, but she was writing on paper and corresponding with us that way. And on day number 3, the doctor said, well, you know what, her test results are looking better. I think she's gonna pull through. Maybe tomorrow we can take the ventilator out. And I'm like, oh, thank you, God. I needed more time with this mom, or with this woman. And so I decided that night that I was gonna go home. I'd been staying up at the hospital with my husband, sleeping on their couch. And if anybody slept on a hospital couch, y'all know how bad that is. So I kissed her on the cheek and I said, love you, girlfriend, you are my hero. I always told her that. I always called her my girlfriend because she was not my mom. My mom raised me. My mom was there for me when I was sick. This woman, as I called her, was my girlfriend. So I kissed her on the cheek, said, love you, girlfriend, you are my hero, and a tear ran down her cheek. And I left that night, went home. It was a 2.5-hour drive. Slept really well. Got up the next morning, packed another bag because I didn't know what was going to happen. Got up to the hospital. And I was met at the door by her husband, Perry. And he said, Monica, she slipped into a coma last night. If I would have known that those were the last words that I was going to say to her, I would have said so much more. She fought for 3 more days. And on the 7th day, the doctor comes in and says, I know she's only 57, but she's dying, and there's nothing else that we can do. And my heart literally just sank. I had so many more questions. I wanted to know so many more details. And I was never going to get those answers. And as I was sitting in the hospital, I stayed in her room the entire day. And they always have these monitors on the wall. They have the probes on your chest so you can see the heart beating and every time they take a breath. And I lived by that monitor. I kept watching and watching and watching. And I would just watch her heartbeat and watch her heartbeat, and then her heartbeat slowed down. She was with me when I took my first breath, and I was holding her hand when she took her last. And how amazing is our God to allow me to be there for her in her weakest moment, as she was there for me and mine at that abortion facility in 1972 when I needed her the most. We have an amazing God we serve. And he puts the pieces into place. He always has. We can try and get off course. We can try and move to the left, move to the right, and say, I'm not doing this. You will continually be brought down to the center of the path. I did not want to be the person that stood up in front of an audience and said, my biological father's a rapist. You know how dehumanizing this is? I mean, that's like, it just takes your worth and goes down. And for the longest time, I felt like I had to prove my worth. And as a medic, I worked more hours and more hours and more hours because saving somebody else's life meant that I was worthy of mine. We shouldn't feel that way. All life is precious. But I did because society made it that way. You know, I go into churches all the time and I talk, and I hear people in the church say, I'm pro-life, except if the woman was raped. Really? What did the child do? You know, and I get it because they want to feel for the woman that's brutally been attacked. But having an abortion is not going to change anything. She still has to heal physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Killing her child, she still has to heal physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And now you've just added an abortion to the mix. And that child doesn't deserve to die. I had to literally try to find my worth. And somehow I think through the baby boxes and being able to hold these babies that are placed in our box, it gives me purpose. You know, holding these babies is like all the crap that I've been through, trying to get these boxes in buildings and places. I mean, you all remember the fight with the Department of Child Services. This was not a secret. But getting to see these babies, I'd do it all again. I would do it all again. You know, I am gonna share one more thing with you guys, and then I want to take questions, and I'm going to talk about the baby boxes. But you know, I don't talk about this a lot, but I want you guys to see how Christ is using us and using our family. Because there are no mistakes, there are no wrong paths. Christ always has you on a path. And I want you guys to see where we've been for the last few years. You guys know that I'm a medic. I was on the ambulance May 25th of 2016. And I got a call for a vehicle rollover party pinned. It's a high priority call for us. This means basically somebody is underneath this vehicle. And jump in the truck, put my bunker pants on, flip the lights on. I'm trying to get my head in the game because I need my airway bag, I'll need my cardiac monitor, I'm gonna need my drugs. You know, trying to get into the, what am I gonna find when I get there? And halfway to the scene, we see all these cars, and this is a town of 2,000 people. And this is 2 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday night. And we are passing car after car after car after car, and I'm like, what is going on? And we got dispatched to a field where this vehicle had flipped and pinned somebody. It was about a mile from the house that we were heading to, and I find out that it's my son and his best friend, and one is dead and one is alive. If you don't think the devil will not attack you when you're doing Christ's work, you are kidding yourself. You are kidding yourself. Going back 2 hours from that moment, my son was at a high school graduation party with his best friend, Casey. The homeowner bought beer. You can Google this. He was charged with a felony, and he should have been. Buying beer for 50 underage kids. What bad could go wrong? So my son decided to get behind the wheel of a Jeep he didn't own, with his best friend sitting on the windowsill of the Jeep with his hands in the air, and started doing donuts in a 19-acre field. What are Jeeps known for? Flipping. When you're intoxicated, you're invincible. The Jeep flipped, landed on top Casey. The kids from the bonfire ran over to the Jeep, picked the Jeep up, put it back on all 4 tires, and then left. The homeowner told them to leave. We're lucky, only 1 kid died that night. So I arrive on the scene, and my son is doing chest compressions on Casey. I was relieved for about this long, and then I realized that this kid that grew up as my son, I am now having to try to save his life. And I failed. I put an aircraft in the air, called for another ambulance because I knew I wasn't going to be able to do a good job, and I wasn't a good medic that night. I could not get my head in the game. And then I put a sheet over Casey's body, and I walked over to JJ and I said, Casey's dead, and it's your fault. My only son was charged with OWI causing death. He was a minor. His blood alcohol was 0.085. There is no legal limit, though, for a minor. And he came to us after he was charged. We bailed him out. I always said I'd never bail my kids out of jail. But I was not going to let him sit behind bars on suicide watch. No way. That is not happening. We've been on suicide watch 7 times. Mayor's son. So our son comes to us, and he says, Mom, Dad, I'm going to plead guilty. And we're like, oh, no, you're not. You're going to go to jail for a long time. And he said to us something that was very pivotal. He said, I am not going to stand in front of a judge and tell him that I didn't do something that I did. He says, and what they've accused me of doing is exactly what I did that night. So our son stood up in front of a judge, apologized to Casey's family, apologized to us, and looked at the judge and said, I'm here to get my sentence. Seeing your only son handcuffed and taken away, I hope you never have to see that. My son was sentenced to 4 years in the Department of Corrections. You can imagine the headlines. Mayor's son kills best friend in drunken accident. Baby box lady's son. It got bad. The devil was attacking hardcore. Everybody has a definition of humility. I'm going to tell you mine. It's standing in front of a casket of a kid that my son just killed. Doesn't get any lower than that. You know, and I've often said, what good could possibly come out of this? My son is in prison, his best friend is dead. Where is the good here? Christ, what are you using us for? But then I'm reminded that a 17-year-old girl was probably asking herself the same question 46 years ago. What good could possibly come out of this situation? And now the daughter that she saved is now saving others. Christ has a plan for all of us. We actually hired a production company to do a documentary on JJ's story. It's in 100 schools now. And they actually went into the prison and videotaped JJ in prison. We recreated the scene, used the 911 calls from that night. I'm actually going to be at a driver's ed class tomorrow talking about underage drinking and driving. That's being pro-life, guys. Because I'm trying to redirect traffic away from a vehicle after these kids get too many drinks in them. So we've been spiritually attacked, physically attacked, but you know what? You still gotta get up, you still gotta dress up, and you still gotta show up. Because you guys got trains? Because if we don't get up, we don't dress up, and we don't show up, these little guys could have been placed in dumpsters, but instead, they were placed in our boxes. This is the reality of abandonment. Right here, these two families, I'll tell you what, this is their life right here. I'm just gonna pass them around. One of them's almost 2. She was a couple hours old when she was placed in our box, but this is just the most updated pictures that we have of her. The Safe Haven baby boxes that we're wanting to put in Connorsville, I want to kind of tell you how they work. Now that we got through all the sad stuff. Let's get to the cool stuff, right? So the baby boxes are electronically monitored, and what that means is when mom opens that door on the outside, an immediate 911 call goes out. There doesn't have to be anybody at the station. They can be out on a fire call. They can be out at a mass shooting. That call is going to go to 911, and 911 is going to know that they're already out on a fire call, so they need to call the next closest unit, which could be a police officer. Police officer could be right up the road. They will come and retrieve the child from the inside of the fire station. The very first baby that was placed in our box was placed in our box at a volunteer fire station. She was pulled from the box in 3 minutes and 40 seconds. Baby number 2, which you got him going around. I'll tell you a funny story about him too, but he was in our box for 90 seconds. So and this is a volunteer fire station. Funny thing about him, he's the blonde kid in the picture going around. So his biological mother put him in a pink onesie. And you got these big burly firefighters that come and pull the baby from the box, and we name our babies, every baby that comes out of our box, because he knows your name, right? He knows your name. So we give him our, a name from us, and so we decided to name him Grace. And then we realized he had a penis. So then we went with Grayson. And I'll tell you what, guess what his name is today? It's Grayson. So, and then the very first baby, we named her baby Hope, because there's always hope, right? They named her Grace. So, but yeah, so the boxes are electronically monitored. We basically go into the outside exterior of a fire station and we cut a hole in the wall like we're putting a window in. And basically the box just slides into that. We mount it. We don't. I say we, like I'm doing it. No. It gets mounted into the side of the building. And so mom will only see this part, and the firefighters will see the inside of the box where baby is pulled. Now when mom places her baby in one of our boxes and shuts the door locks. So if she changes her mind, she's gonna have to wait for fire and medical. When we do training, we tell them, do not give the child back to the woman who's standing at the box. Did you see her put that baby in that box? No. You can take her to the hospital, they'll sort it out, but I can guarantee you DCS is going to make sure that this child has a DNA test before they give this baby to anybody that's claiming to be a parent. Another thing too is, if they give this child back to those parents that are standing outside the box, they're putting this child right back in harm's way. This mother is at our box for a reason. Putting her back into their custody is detrimental and probably is signing a death certificate for her. Oh. So what time is it? Oh, I'm doing like way good. I'm usually the talker of the family, so let's do some questions. How's that sound?
I have a question. I'd like to know what happened to the guy who provided the alcohol.
He was, he pled not guilty, of course.
Of course.
And fought it for 2 years and kept putting it off. And then finally he pled guilty. He was the first case in Indiana who was charged with what they call the social host law. The social host law, for those of us that are parents that allow our kids to drink at home, I'm going to tell you what this law is. That means I don't have to prove that you bought the beer. I just have to prove that you know they're drinking in your home, on your property. You are liable. And this has never been tried in Indiana before. I like to do things first. But it had never been tried before, so the prosecutor didn't think that he could get a solid conviction if it went to trial. So he gave him the crappiest plea deal I've ever seen. $500 fine. It should have been $500 per kid. But he gave him a $500 fine, 500 community hours, and 2 years of probation. And he was on house arrest for 6 months. And a kid got killed on his property.
He got a slap.
He got a slap, my son's, But it is what it is. You choose the what's the word I'm looking for, the choice. You choose the choice, consequences follow. So, needless to say, this 2,000 people in Woodburn, 2 prominent families in Woodburn, it kind of divided our town.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can imagine. So, I think you had a question.
You went up to South Africa.
I was actually speaking in South Africa. Rape runs rampant, and abortion runs rampant over there. So does tuberculosis and HIV. And I was actually actually speaking with Pam Stenzel. So Pam Stenzel and I were on a speaking tour, and we spoke 14 times in 16 days. It wasn't a vacation for us because we were doing a lot of work, but I think we had spoke to 80,000 in those 14 days. That's a lot of work. I was talking more on the pro-life side of things. She was talking on the abstinence part of things. But 80,000 kids heard my birth mom story in South Africa, and I just happened to be at a church that had a baby box, so, and the rest is history.
I really think God put you where you needed to be.
Thank you. Some days I gotta struggle to get up and dress up and show up, but I'm here. So I'd really like to go over to that bar and have a few drinks after the weekend that I had, but I gotta drive home. I love Catholics, 'cause you guys, and I love the nights. I love the nights. I gotta tell you. Give me back to Fort Wayne. So everybody, the Knights of Columbus, Scott Cunningham, we used to be the state deputy. I was speaking for him at one of the Gabriel projects back in 2015, I think. And he come up to me and he's like, "Hey, you want a drink?" I'm like, "No, I'm speaking tonight. I probably shouldn't." He's like, "No, you'll be all right." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll take an iced tea." And he's like, "No, what do you want, a margarita?" I'm like, "Nah, you want to give me a margarita? I'll drink a margarita." I had 2 of them before I spoke. Best speech I ever gave. Totally best speech I ever gave. So, they haven't called me back though, so I'm not sure what that's about.
Did you feel like you were more supportive that little town you're from, where your husband is the mayor? Did the community come together wholly as a one to help you back you up on this safe boxing thing?
Oh my gosh. When you see a community come together, yes. Woodburn, I had to sell it because, this had never been done before. So I had to get people past, what do you mean we're putting babies in boxes? That's just as inhumane. I had to get them past that and get them to the, why are we doing it? And once they realized that babies were being dumped at fire stations outside, they got to the why. And I'll tell you what, Woodburn has not paid for anything. We have to have an alarm system on our box there because we don't have the fire alarm inside, so we have to pay a little bit extra for our box. We have, the community pays for that every year. The organization of the fire department doesn't pay for any of it. The whole box was paid by the community. When the community gets involved, because this is a community effort, the women that's going to use this box, believe it or not, are your kids, your daughters, your grandkids. And if you think they're not, you're kidding yourself. I always said my son would never be a drunk driver. That didn't get me very far. So this is a community project. And it has to be, because it's our kids. I was talking to Jen earlier today, and she's like, "Well, what about us going into the schools?" And I'm like, "I'm only going to be here for a short time. We need to make sure that all these kids in this community always know there's an option at that fire station." Because right now, what's happening is they have to be told that the safe haven law is around. There is nothing in writing. There is nothing in paper. They have to be told that. And I don't know about you, but I've never been to a fire station where they can tell me wholeheartedly 100% what the safe haven law is for this state. Because they're not talking about it. And the box being on the side of a fire station, is that rain?
Yeah.
Holy smokes. So the box being on the side of a fire station is a constant reminder to these kids in this community. We don't have to talk about it every day. All they gotta do is drive by it. The fire department, when they go in to stop, drop, and roll, where these kids go down and jump in their trucks, they need to show these kids that box because when they're 15, 16, 17 years old, they're gonna remember when they went to the fire station, jumped in all those trucks, and oh yes, I remember there was a box there that saves babies. They're gonna remember this. It's gonna have a lasting effect on this community. And I would hate for us to miss this opportunity and pass this by and then find a dead baby in this community, because that will be devastating. When we had the opportunity to say yes, and we said no. There's a kid out of Columbus, Indiana. I don't know if you guys have seen this or not. He's autistic. His name is Hunter Ward. He was a senior last year for high school. And in Columbus, they do a senior project. He called me and said, "I want to raise $10,000 to put a baby box in Columbus." I'm like, this kid's a senior in high school and he's autistic and doesn't drive. So I'm like, yeah, that's awesome, you know, thinking that this would just be somebody that called me that says, I want to help, but never does anything, you know. We all get ahead of ourselves sometimes. No. I started getting envelopes with dollar bills and change in them from him. Not kidding. He was mowing grass, shoveling snow in the wintertime, and scrapping cans with his mom. And this kid, and I think it was February or March of this year, hit $10,000.
Wow.
Yeah, $10,000, and this kid's autistic. One high school kid, but you know, autistic kids are laser focused, you know? I'm like, can we all just have an autistic kid? This would be perfect for me. He really is an awesome kid. And we actually, Columbus refused the box, believe it or not. Columbus refused the box. It was all paid for, everything was done. And so we took that box and gifted it to the city of Seymour. And that box went active on June 14th. And Hunter Ward spoke there. He handed me an envelope and he says, here's a thank you card for letting me participate. And by the way, there's another check. I'm going to start on box number 2.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, this kid, I love this kid, you know? But he got accepted into college. He's leaving for Terre Haute in August. And this is an autistic kid. I feel like he's my kid. I talk about him all the time. So, but that was a really long answer to the question that I just had.
Why did they refuse it?
They want a woman to walk into the fire station and hand the child to a person so that they can assess the medical needs of the mother. And that's fine if that's what they want to do, but our state law does not state that it has to be the mother that brings you the child. So at a fire station today, if I had a child, I could give it to you, you could give it to him, you could give it to him, and take it to the fire station. You might not even know who it belongs to, but it's completely legal in this state. It doesn't have to be a parent. They didn't understand that. So, which I'm not here to bash Columbus by any means. I just hope that we can intercept any mother in the city of Columbus to send her to Seymour if she needs one of those boxes.
What about all the medical problems you might have? That's come to that. You never find out what they are.
Well, you're talking like as the adoptee, not getting that?
Yeah.
Well, think about it from my point of view as the abandoned child. I would rather have my life than know who my parents are or know my medical information. And with the DNA tests that are out there today, you can pretty much learn who your 6, 7 cousins are. You know, but if that's going to deter someone, you know, if we say we have to have medical information when you walk into this fire station, you are putting an X on that location. She is not going to go there. She won't. We do have, though, just so you know, because I get that question a lot. And as an adoptee that didn't know anything for a long time, I appreciated getting it. We have what we call the Safe Haven Registry on our website, and that's where any woman 5 years, 7 years down the road, or that surrendered 10 years ago, can go to our website and fill out the questionnaire, and we will get the information to the child that they surrendered. So they have that. But making it for every person is going to really make these women not want to go to those locations. So, and unfortunately, we have to make it easy. I hate to say it.
Our children are adopted, and one has very thorough medical information, the other has none. I think it depends on the age of the biological that gave them up and just how thorough it is.
Does it bother the child that doesn't know anything? My older sister was adopted as well. She's Mexican, and my parents knew who her parents were the whole time growing up. They didn't know mine. They knew hers. She doesn't want to know who they are. Has no desire to know who they are. You know, it all depends on the person. But I don't want that to distract someone from doing the right thing. So.
Well, is there any go ahead.
Based on medical costs for the baby, if there's practical babies that are in these boxes, accept that cost for the baby. we pay for that?
If the medical care, are you talking like if the baby needs medical care? Okay, so if this, okay, so we have the baby box baby and we have a safe haven surrender baby where they hand the child to a person. Same thing's gonna happen. So the babies in your communities today that are being handed to firefighters are going into the Department of Child Services. And the state pays for anything like that, not you guys directly. Now, if a baby's placed in our box, same thing's gonna happen. The state's gonna pick that up. I can tell you that two of the babies that were at the volunteer fire station in Cold Springs Fire Department had 0 drugs, 0 alcohol in their system, completely healthy babies. We had one in Decatur Township, worst drug-addicted baby I have ever seen in my life. I can show you pictures of it today. He is hitting every milestone. He was on a morphine drip for 5 weeks. That's how bad he was. But he's the light of his parents' life right now, you know. We also had a case, and this is something that's probably going to come out in the news in the next couple of weeks. We've had 6 babies in Indiana just this year for 2019. One of those cases, we were working with the mom, and I got subpoenaed to go into court and name her. I got 4 subpoenas, and I refused all 4 times. And I'll tell you what, it cost us a ton of money to defend this mother, but her right is to remain anonymous. Well, the Department of Child Services came up and says, well, this baby's addicted to drugs. They're classifying it as an abused child. And I said, that's not in the state law. I wrote the law. It is not in the law saying that if a baby's addicted to drugs, you can charge the mother. It doesn't say that. I filed what they call an interlocutory appeal, which means we want a higher judge to take a look at this. We squashed 2 of the subpoenas. But this is where we're getting to. If I was to go into court and name that mom, 1, she'd be furious at me, and 2, nobody in this country would trust me again. So with you guys knowing my son's situation, you guys will appreciate this. So the second subpoena I got, when the judge was like, no, you're gonna come in here and you're gonna name this mom. And my lawyer was like, I'm gonna tell you, Monica, if he says, you know, you need to name her, he goes, as your lawyer, I'm gonna advise you to name her. And I'm like, as my lawyer, you better keep my butt out of jail because I'm not naming her, okay? That's your job today, and I'm paying you to do it. So we're getting ready to go to court, and my son, okay, he's on house arrest. The time that he goes up to me and he goes, Mom, I'm just gonna tell you, you better wear 2 pairs of socks and stretchy pants and take a coat because it is cold in the county jail. I'm like, I don't know if I am like proud or embarrassed at this moment. I'm like, but you have to know our son, he's very humorous, but I have fought them 4 times, squashed 2 subpoenas because they want her name, and I'm not giving it. So please, if you see on the news that I have went to jail, bring me some socks and stretchy pants and a coat, because I'm gonna need it according to my son. Okay, any other questions? See, we're all friends here.
This really isn't new, is it? Because this is what happened to Moses.
Correct.
So this is not new, it's just we've lost track of it.
Well, you know,
over the years.
back in the early 1900s, they used to have what they called fondling wheels at Catholic churches, where a woman would place her baby in, spin it around, and a nun on the other side would take the child and raise the child. And we got rid of those, and abandonments went up. So when you look at the abandonments in our country today, we're finding 150 dead babies in our country every single year. Do you think we have a problem? I mean, that's 150 babies. These are full-term babies. These are full-term babies that are being dumped. And we have to do something. We have to be proactive. And as a pro-lifer who stands on the front lines of the pro-life movement every single day, I've always said the more we restrict abortion in this country, the more these boxes are going to be pivotal. Because infanticide is going to run wild, because we have not changed the culture, my friends. We have not. They are still going to be getting pregnant. They are still going to be getting, the only difference is now they're being forced to carry this child to term, which is what we've been praying for. But have we looked past that? And we have not. You know, somebody said, oh, well, the crisis pregnancy centers are going to go out of business. And I'm like, in what? What? They're going to get more busy. I mean, no, they're going to get more busy. Same thing with these boxes. Women will still continue to hide their pregnancies. It's just, now they're going to have an option, 100% helpless option.
So who takes the babies? Social services?
The baby is pulled from the box from fire or medical personnel or a police officer, placed in an ambulance, taken to the closest medical facility, evaluated by a physician, and then placed in the custody of the Department of Child Services. These babies are fast-tracked though. A safe haven baby is fast-tracked, so it doesn't take as long, like they're terminating the parental rights. Usually that only takes 30 days on a safe haven baby. So most of our babies are put with their forever families within the first 30 days.
Not just foster?
No, if foster family comes, they do a CHINS hearing the next day, basically saying this child is in need of services, and then they start the termination of parental rights at 30 days and place the baby with a forever family.
Is there any priority as to the community a safe haven baby ends up in?
I can tell you through my experience that these babies do not stay in the community for obvious reasons. You guys have a baby, not you guys, but there's a baby in French Lick. That's the Columbia City baby at the Walmart. They moved her all the way to French Lick. You know, they stay in the state, but it doesn't guarantee that they're going to be in the community. Both the babies from Cold Springs Fire Department, one is in Greenwood and one is south of Edinburgh. I don't know the town though. Don't think that it is from this community and don't think that it isn't, because you never know where they're coming from. And I think the closest box from here is North Vernon and Carmel. And that's going to be a long drive for mom if she's in your community today.
So where are we today with one here in Connersville? You met with some people today?
I did. I was up at the Board of Works meeting and they approved the box coming in here. I never ask the fire department for money. They can't afford it. I mean, they're barely getting the life-saving equipment they need, so we always try to come in and raise the money for them. We do a ton of purse bingos, I do a ton of speaking events, and then I partner with organizations that help draw in the people and help us get the job done, and that's what we're doing tonight. So the box has been approved by the city, now we just gotta fund it, build it, and install it. That's the hard part.
That's for the $10,000.
Yeah, we did get a donation today from the mayor, which super excited about. But yes, we do need to come up with the rest of the money in order to order the box. Box takes about 4 to 6 weeks to build. This is not on an assembly line. This is one guy that builds the plastic part of the box, and then there's our electrical engineer that wires it. Those are the only 2 people that ever touch these boxes as they're being built. So they do one at a time. So it usually takes 4 to 6 weeks once we order it. If they've got, if they're backlogged, it might take a little bit longer, but that's normal, 4 to 6 weeks.
So the same guys install it then? Who installs it?
Yeah, well, remember the guy that I walked in, I gave him $700, said I want you to build me a baby box. He's like, I'll do whatever you want for $700. And he built me the first baby box. He is still my builder today. He completely believes in the program. Well, and we have had him at some of the events where these babies are, and he gets to hold them. And it's like his hands molded this box together that these babies were saved in. And that, it doesn't get any better than that, really. It really doesn't. So he really believes in the program. So that was a really long answer to your question.
I'm sure this is, I'm picturing this box, and it locks. I'm assuming on the other side, in the fire station, it's open or something, so
Yeah.
baby can breathe.
Well, it's actually heated and it's cool.
Oh.
So if you look at your pictures here in those pamphlets,
So I can see.
So yeah, there's actually a medical bassinet on the inside of the box. And it's got holes on the inside of the fire station and it's clear through, it's acrylic, so the firefighters can see through the door. But it is heated and it's cooled. The box on the inside stays between 72 and 81 degrees at all times, even in the summertime, because babies need heat. And, but yeah, once it locks, the inside doesn't lock because it's in a secure area for the firefighters and paramedics.
So will there be signage?
It's all uniform signage on these boxes, and that's something that the state law requires. So we have the same signage on every box at every fire station.
So there won't be any doubt that she's at the right fire station?
Correct, yep. Well, and we have signs that we put on the front of the building too, home of Safe Haven Baby Box, you know, so. And we'll do a huge sweep of media, and we'll be in your schools in the fall. I mean, we have to literally blanket this area to make sure that women know about it, otherwise they're not gonna come and use it. So,
How long does the whole process take from the time you're speaking and then you get the money and then you babysit it?
Carmel Fire Department, which they just wrote me a check. We had theirs in, I think, in 47 days. That is quick. That is really quick. The normal though is like, yeah, they have tons of cash. I mean, they looked at me and said, how much do you need? I'm like, really? Just put an extra zero on it then. You know, but usually 4 to 6 months from the time that we start this process. So it could go faster, it could go slower. I mean, if we raise the money soon, and I get the box ordered, we could have it installed by September, the end of September, middle of September. And I'll tell you, the majority of our babies come in the fall and the winter, believe it or not. And they always come between 6P and 6A, middle of the night. So, just some statistics for you guys that everybody hates to hear. Did you have a question on, did we get yours? Gotcha, okay. Anybody?
So how much money do we need?
Right, let me bring them up, because I'm just the speaker.
Thank you, Monica. Would you give her a hand? My name is Steve Kirkwood. I'm the president of the board of directors for the Hope Center. And so the question is, how much money do we need? I'll open up the wallet and just give me everything in it. And, we need $10,000. That's what we need. That's what we're trying to raise. We'd love to raise that tonight. If we could do that, and that would be an awesome thing. But obviously, we know, we're looking for community organizations in our community to give and to donate to this, understanding the cost. And it's something that's much bigger than us. And she was talking about, the guy that builds the box, and he shapes these boxes and he gets hold of it, and that's the pride that guy has in that. Can you imagine here in Connersville, if we find out that there was a baby dropped off at our Safe Haven box? Can you imagine that sense of pride that you feel, knowing, hey, I had a part in saving that kid's life? Think about even the long-term aspect of that, of adoptive parents who have maybe been praying for years to have a kid. And now, because we had the opportunity to get involved in this project, and a baby was dropped off there, and then that baby was then placed into the hands of parents who've been praying for a kid for so long, and now their prayer has been fulfilled, and we had a hand in that. And so the cost for this is incredible. We have a basket. Did you pass out the cards? Things?
Yeah.
Is that what these are here? We have cards. If you guys would be willing to give tonight, maybe just make a pledge of, hey, in the next 30 days, I'll give this amount of money. You can fill out these cards, and so we'll go ahead and take one of these, and everybody take one and pass it around. And maybe you can't give tonight, but you want to, hang on to the card that you can give later, and you can send that to the Hope Center. We would appreciate that. And doing that, we'll pass the basket around here a little bit. If you want to drop a donation in there, we would certainly appreciate it. And again, this is one of those things where we want to be proactive. We don't want to wait till something happens. We don't want to wait till somebody finds a baby over there in Roberts Park before we wake up and realize, man, we need this box. So this is something we need to get done now, we need to have it done yesterday and to get this money. And so we would love to do that. Walking around a little bit here, and I saw around the corner back there, you guys have a big check, the Knights of Columbus there, they gave like $6,000 to the golf outing out there. And I can have that one? Okay, great. Thank you. When I saw that, $6,000, there was another check there for like $3,500 that you guys gave for the Knights of Columbus, and those were all last year, 2018. And so I was thinking, man, this would be a great time for you guys to put another check on the wall back there. Seriously, I mean, something that you guys can be proud of and say, hey, this is something that we did. And we had a big hand in this. We had a part in saving babies' lives. And so we would appreciate any gift that you can give. There's no gift too small, no gift too big. And there's also upkeep to this, an annual upkeep thing. And so, what is it, like $1,200?
It's $200.
$200 a year. So that's very minimal type of a cost. And so, anything that we do raise over $10,000, we'll just go towards that to the annual upkeep of those things. So, Jen, do you have anything else that you want to add?
Does anybody have any questions about the Hope Center? We talked a lot about the baby boxes, but do y'all know about the Hope Center? And I feel like we have a strong presence in our community. We've been here for 22 years. You know that we're very pro-life. We try to encourage our mamas to parent, come through the parenting classes, bring dad with them because dads are important too. They fulfill a role in baby's life and they are very important. So this just really fits well with our mission. Being pro-life sounds good on paper, but you still have to figure out how to give our parents options. And so adoption is a great option, but it can be overwhelming. It's a lot to think about. It's a lot to process. Where having a Safe Haven baby box is you can anonymously surrender baby and walk away. And you know the baby will be taken care of, baby will get medical attention, baby will be placed with a loving family. It's another option on the table to keep our babies safe. And so that's why we feel like it fits well with our mission. Any other questions? Yes,
I wanted to bring a check over sometime in the next week. Do I make it up to the Safe Haven baby boxes or make it up
Yeah, do that, and then the memo, make sure you put Connorsville so we can earmark this money for the Connorsville box.
Okay.
Yeah, great question, thank you.
You can also go online and do it, and then the memo section put Connorsville.
Okay.
That's what we had to do with Hunter Wart, the autistic kid. I kept adding all this change and dollar bills to his account, and I had to keep putting it under Hunter Wart's senior project.
Anybody else have any other questions? No? All right.
Thank you guys so much for coming.